Hello and welcome out to this episode of Outbreak Gamers. I'm your host, David Anthony, or WebDave is my gamer tag, and I'm here with the one and only Fonz. Fonz, welcome, sir.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Dude, it is awesome. Like I said, we've been working a little bit back and forth to get you here, and now that you're good and settled in, and you were gracious enough to be like, hey man, are you ready for me yet? And I'm like, dude, I am so ready for you. So I appreciate you being here, man. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
thank you for the invite, man. I know this has been like several months that we've been trying to get this together, and finally, I've had some time, and I hit you up. I was like, Dave, let's do it. Let's go.
Yeah.
You said Thursday. I said perfect.
Yeah,
We're here.
exactly. Well, dude, this is awesome. Well, we're going to start things off with, I guess, kind of where we're kind of touch base with everybody, and that's kind of, I guess, like what kind of jobs have you had
Mhm.
in your career? I mean, like, not necessarily to get you right where you're at now, but I mean, as far as like, everybody starts somewhere, right?
Oh yeah. And Dave, I'm no spring chicken, so for especially going back to my first job, I think I made $4 an hour. Many years ago, many moons ago, when I made $4 an hour, working in a pet store. So that was my first job,
Very cool.
and I started cleaning up after everything from birds, rabbits, cats, dogs, you name it. There was animals everywhere, chinchillas. It was a pretty cool first job because I love animals. Animals are like, the best, better than
They are.
humans to me sometimes, most times.
Amen.
So I really like animals. So working at that job was cool. And then of course I've had, here's the thing about me. Ever since I was a teenager and I started that job,
Hmm.
I've never had one day without a job. I've had a
Nice.
job consistently my whole freaking life since being a teen.
It's good.
Whenever I moved on to switch to a different career path or whatever, I've just had a job. Before I left one job, I would put in my 2 weeks and I'd go right to a job. Never had any kind of like time where I was in between jobs.
Right.
And I see people go through that sometimes. I know it's tough sometimes to get a job and stuff, but when people elect to have that in between time, it's just always it's puzzling to me. I'm like, I need to work, damn it,
Yeah.
I need to make that money. So pet store, I think after that, I went into security. Okay.
Mm.
I was a security guard for a few years actually. And then I thought I wanted to do that for a living and become a police officer. So I started going to a community college and taking classes, criminal justice and whatnot. And
Nice.
while I was there in community college, and I had this epiphany that hit me, and I was like, I really don't want to be a cop. I really don't want to go through this. And shout out to them and what they do. What they do
Hmm.
is tough. I didn't want to put my life on the line for how much they were making starting out and all that. Back then, especially, I was like, nah, I'm not doing this.
All right.
So then I became a painter, house painter. I painted houses. I painted commercial buildings as well. I did it all. I became a journeyman painter. Got paid lots of money, and there was no benefits though. I worked for a small company, no benefits. I made a lot of money, but benefits is where it's at, especially when you have
Yes, it
a
is.
family. I had
Mhm.
kids and stuff at the time. So I started young with kids. I was 19 when I had my first. That's another reason why I've never been without a job. I've
Right.
always had to strive to work for my kids.
That's important.
Very important. And so I love painting, the satisfaction of it, the customer being all happy when they see the job done in the end, patting you on the back and being like, great job. And I was really good at it. But then I was like, no, need benefits. I moved on to my career I'm in now, which is I'm a steel worker now. I work at a plant here in California,
Nice.
and it's the biggest steel plant on the West Coast, and it's about to be shut down next year.
Uh-oh.
And unfortunately, it's because, politics,
Right.
environmental, all this stuff. This is
Yep.
very bad. But the short of it is I've been there for almost 20 years now, working at the steel company, having a great time. I love what I do, but it's hard. I
Yeah.
won't sugarcoat it. It's tough some days. Long hours, a lot of hours, very, very laborious at times. But it pays the bills. And you know, gonna have a
Yeah.
pension from it and everything. So that's all good. So I'm happy about that. But yeah, that's basically what I've done. Yeah, as far as work goes.
Right, right. So and not to be nosy. So like, do you have I guess a plan for when this particular plant closes, or are you just gonna
Oh
kind of
yeah,
see
yeah,
what
yeah,
happens
yeah,
at the
yeah.
time?
So basically, you know, I pretty much I wear everything on my sleeve, so to speak. I
Hmm.
kind of put myself out there in the community sometimes. Some people would say I put too much information out there about myself, about my personal life, but I'm very transparent with, especially my subscribers
Hmm.
and those of my, you know, that follow me, because I feel like if I'm going to take a break from doing this sort of stuff, which, you know, I, I've always had a problem with people giving me too much praise, you know, for content creation or anything like that. But at the same time, I do know people, there's certain people out there that really like what I do. And for those people, I feel like I have to be transparent to them and that I have to tell them what's going on if I do take a break or something,
Right.
because I want to be honest.
Yeah.
I guess sometimes some would say I'm too honest sometimes,
Right. Right.
but
Well, you know, that's
but I do have a plan. And again, going back to that,
mhm.
the whole plan is to get out of California. That's my
Ah,
whole plan, to run
yeah.
away from California. Look, I've been looking for a way out of California. It's kind of a blessing in disguise,
Right.
leaving this place, moving to another state, get a job there, hold it
Hmm.
down till I'm 62 and retire. That's my goal.
There you go.
Because I'll have a pension and stuff when I leave here. So
Yeah,
I'll be
that's
good.
nice.
I'll be good.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I got several friends that live in California. Both one of them in LA
It's
and the other one
expensive.
right outside of LA. Well, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the Bay Area. So again, it's because of the expenses. That's why I'm
Mhm.
running away. It's not really necessarily politics, but it's the expense here.
Oh
It's
yes,
insane. I've been priced out of the market years ago, but I've been holding on for dear life, and
right.
it's just too much.
Yeah, no, I can totally understand that. But I mean, it's good that there is you know, a lot of different variety
Hmm.
in the country as far as, you know, I mean, because obviously it's a pretty good climate most times there in California. So there's other, you
Best
know,
part
like
about
yeah,
California is the weather.
exactly,
Best part about it.
exactly. And there's some, I shouldn't say as good a weather, but decent weather in, like, you know, Texas and Florida and places like that.
Certain parts of Texas,
Right, right.
Florida,
Yeah.
not really, but you know,
Yes. Yeah, 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 yeah. But, well, I guess, I mean, obviously there's different elements there, you know,
yeah, yeah. You
hurricanes
got to
and
deal with the humidity
right.
versus dry heat, and you know, so forth,
Exactly,
or
exactly.
extreme cold in certain areas. You know,
Very true,
I don't
very
do well
true.
with extreme cold or extreme heat.
You
So,
you would not like Kentucky, I'll tell you that right now. We
oof,
have everything here,
I'm
and then
sure.
sometimes it's gone from extremes within a week, within 7 days. We've had snow all the way up to, like, a heat index. I'm like, "What?"
Wow,
It's happened
wow,
before, so, crazy times
yeah.
sometimes. But yeah, but yeah, I totally get that. But at least, you know, and the reason I guess I didn't want to leave it kind of on a cliffhanger was that, you know, because there's some people that might watch this and be like, you know, oh, what's Fonz gonna do? They might worry, you know, because like
Oh no, 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 no,
you do
no.
have a good
I'll
fan
be good.
base, you know.
You know, that's one thing I've always done is put my family first.
Hmm.
You know, my wife and my kids are always going to be put first.
Awesome.
Anything I need to do, if there's any sacrifices that need to be made, they're going to be made.
Hmm.
If it means the betterment for my wife and kids,
Awesome.
hands
Awesome.
down.
Yeah, dude. That's another thing I like about you is that, I mean, yes, you know, you have your opinions, and everybody does.
Oh yes,
But I mean, you're, you know, and your heart is good. You know what I mean? You're a good guy, and it shows. And
I
you
appreciate
know,
that, man.
oh,
I
dude,
try. I try.
yeah. Well, I
Sometimes I
mean,
get a little mad at
you
some people
know,
out there, but that's only because they give it and they test me too much. But damn
yeah.
it, I'm a good man inside. I really am.
You are, and you can tell that too. So, let's I guess let's get into some of the gaming aspects. Then, like, I guess what was your first gaming experience?
Mm.
Was it console, arcade? How did that
Okay,
come about
here's
for
something
you?
that I don't remember, to be honest.
Okay,
And
okay,
because we go way back, and you
yes,
see these ancient machines and this green screen behind
uh
me,
huh,
those are called, to the kids at home anyway, you already know, those are arcade machines. Those are what we used to play. We used to go to an arcade and play the games.
Live at
And
arcades.
I do remember going to the arcades. I just can't remember which was first because of the
Fair
fact
enough.
that I lived in the Philippines until I was 7.
Wow.
So I don't remember if I went to an arcade in the Philippines, because I only remember, because at that age, I remember a little bit here and there doing certain things. And, you know, I don't remember the arcades there. But when I was here, I definitely remember in 1982, my uncle had an Atari 2600. And at the time we lived together with my uncle and stuff, moving from the Philippines to here.
Yeah.
And I remember that machine and Pac-Man captivated me. Pac-Man was the first game I was addicted to. That's when it solidified the Fonz into gaming. Pac-Man is what drove me to love this hobby. So
yeah,
Pac-Man will always hold a special place with me.
Oh man, and it is. It's simplistic, but it's still, you know, it's a challenge. Especially,
yeah.
You get tired. You know, not as easy
I
as you
remember
think. to clear
it
those
was
boards.
Pac-Man, and then we had like Stampede, which was a simple little rodeo game. Basically, you just, you know, threw the little lasso under the cows or bulls or whatnot. We had Adventure. You were a little square.
Dude,
You were just moving around each little,
that's my game right there.
Adventure was awesome.
Yes.
And that's why I thought it was cool when they used that in the movie Ready Player One.
Exactly.
I was like, cool that they used that. The movie was good, but on a side note, the movie was good. The book was amazing.
Exactly.
I loved the book, but yeah, that's another story. But yeah, I started with the Atari 2600. We had the Atari 5800, I believe, at one point, and we played games like Popeye on that. And again, they just tons of games on that thing. My neighbors, they had a Intellivision, and that's where I got to play that console. So you know, it was really cool because I had friends or neighbors that had different consoles than me growing up. Because, you know, again, I would progress to other consoles like the NES. I remember that was really big for me. The year we got the NES, we didn't get the year that it came out because we didn't have much money at the time, but my parents, they somehow were able to get it for us in 1987, Christmas time.
Nice.
And they got us 4 games with that. And I remember the games were Top Gun, which was a horrible game. Horrible game.
Yeah.
But I played the heck out of it. I could never land that plane on the aircraft carrier. It just, no. Top Gun, we had Mike Tyson's Punch Out. We had the Duck Hunt Super Mario combo, you know, on one cartridge. And yeah, I think those were the 4 games we had starting off. But yeah, but yeah, I was saying all my neighbors or friends, they all had different consoles. It seemed like some of us had the same, but there would be that guy that had like a Master System, a Sega Master System. So I got to enjoy a Sega Master System as well. And here's the thing, kids, we never fought about it either. We didn't say your console sucks, mine's better. No, we were like, what games you got? Oh my gosh, let's play that. Let's play Alex Kidd in Wonderland. And then you can go to my house and play, you know, Mario Brothers. Yeah. It was that kind of, you know, growing up for me. So
yeah, oh, that's awesome. I mean, and then too, it was like, you know, if you had a Nintendo, somebody else had a Sega, it was like, it wasn't like, you know, oh my god, Sega. It was more like, oh my god, there's even more games. You know what I mean? And you're just like, when you got to try somebody else's, you're like, this is so cool.
The only time it came to any kind of console war thing, and it wasn't necessarily console war, it was I remember with Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat didn't have blood on the Nintendo.
Right.
Or it had the option for green blood or something.
Yeah.
And I remember we were like, that's not cool. But
yeah,
at that time I had a Genesis anyway. I was happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I owned pretty much all the big ones. And especially when it came to Sega, I was a big Sega kid. I loved the Super Nintendo as well. Believe me, we had me and my brothers and our friends, we would have many nights of playing Super Street Fighter, Street Fighter 2 Turbo or whatever on the Super Nintendo. We played a lot of that. But Sega, when Genesis came out, that was my jam. I loved Sega Genesis. It was so awesome. So
I'm
awesome.
right there with you. Great console. Very well thought out as far as like the like adding the like emphasis on the sports and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. And the
Yeah.
mascot of Sonic. They checked a lot of boxes to make it I guess a competitor for
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo. So and then I think they did a pretty damn good job.
Yeah, yeah. And then, of course, I got the Sega CD to put right underneath it.
Yeah.
Got the 32X to put on top of it. I had that whole monstrous thing sitting on my, counter.
Stack.
And basically, the only thing that it added was better sound. It all looked the same to me, but that sound was great.
Yeah.
And then they introduced full motion video games. Remember those? Stuff like Night Trap.
I had Night Trap.
Yep.
I'm right there with you.
And they were terrible. It was basically watching a video and having QTEs, hit the button now, hit the button now. So,
Yep. There's a documentary out there that shows how that game came to be. Every bit
really?
about it, as far it's like what it originally started as was not even it was basically like an afterthought, and then Sega and their CD was like hey, would you guys like to put this on our console?
Wow.
And then it was like boom, and it blew up. Especially with the controversy, because that was one of the games that they showed off at the hearings at Senate about the when they were talking about ratings board and how these games were violent, Mortal Kombat and
violent
Night Trap.
and sexual, even
exactly.
Like, really,
so
okay.
Which propelled the sales of the games.
Oh yeah,
skyrocketed.
Yeah, it did.
Everybody got to have that.
Man, Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. Remember that? There was a full motion video game from that too. Yep. Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. Kids, look it up. Mark Wahlberg. Wow, we know a different Mark Wahlberg, don't we?
We do.
But
oh my goodness.
Yeah, and I even had the Sega Saturn. Because I was so enamored with Sega at the time.
Yeah.
Panzer Dragoon was just amazing to me.
Exactly.
Loved all those games. The Virtua Fighter games were all awesome to me.
Yeah.
I bought the Dreamcast. Dreamcast is still my favorite console of all time.
It is right up there with me too.
Hands down. The form factor, the way it looks, the technology within, it was just so ahead of its time, Dave. So ahead.
When I put in Soul Calibur,
oh,
for the first time, and then
blew
you could
you
actually
away.
go in and do that the mode where it was just like you just had the fighter like just go through a routine.
Yeah, you just watch him and it's the camera pans around him and stuff.
Hours.
Yep.
I was like, this is so cool.
Yep. You'd bring friends over and go, watch this,
Watch this,
and then go, hey, we can play this now, and it looks just like this. It was amazing.
Exactly.
Amazing. Well, the VMUs were awesome too. The little cartridges inside that.
Yeah.
Loved them.
Loved them. I mean, it's definitely it's come a long way for sure.
Yeah.
But there's definitely nothing wrong with the little nostalgia and
and that was my favorite
these days.
Console. My worst console ever was the Panasonic 3DO.
Oh, yeah.
And not because it was horrible. It was a decent console, and it played arcade games really, really well, especially fighters. Samurai Showdown was amazing on there. That was my favorite game on there. Fighting games were phenomenal on the Panasonic 3DO. Outside of that, though, I had Gex, played Gex. A lot of people don't know about Gex, but he's coming back into the news because of that new 30th anniversary thing that what Crystal Dynamics is putting out there, and it shows Gex, Tomb Raider, and Raziel from the Legacy of Kain series. So
I hope they get the same comedian that did that voice work.
Well, see, I don't know if they're going to bring back Gex, but
it'll be awesome
if they do, it'll be nostalgic. But I don't know if I want it because I've kind of grown out of platformers.
Right,
just not real big on them anymore.
Yeah. I'm with you. I mean, there's some things that are out now that are kind of neat, that are on the Game Pass and things like that are kind of retro feeling, that are kind of nice.
Kind of like Ninja Turtles. Like,
I
turn that on, play it for a while, just shut it down. I'm not really big onto it, but it's nostalgic. I love the old Ninja Turtle games from back in the day when I was younger. But again, to kind of grow out of that, I'm more into the more mature narrative games.
Right.
That's why I
Right.
like a lot of Sony games.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm right there with you, man. So I guess I guess you got into to Sony and or Xbox and
Well, see, I was an adult when those came out. I was already
right.
in my early 20s.
Hmm.
And I remember, I think I was 21 or 22 when I was exposed to the PlayStation 1.
Hmm.
I walked into my best friend's house at the time, and he was playing his PlayStation, and he had this game up, and I saw this airship, and he was flying around, going to different locales, fighting things. It was Final Fantasy VII. And
Yeah.
I was blown away. I watched him literally for 3 hours play the game, sitting beside him going, wow, this is so cool. I said, when I leave here today, I'm going to pick one up before I go home. And I did that. Went to the
Nice.
store, bought a PlayStation, and then bought a copy of Final Fantasy VII because I wanted to experience what he was experiencing.
Hmm.
And boy, did we both experience that game and have a lot to talk about. And that game was so good back in the day.
Oh yes.
Still is, but it was just so cool. We also played Game Breakers a lot together. Remember Game
Mm-hmm.
Breakers?
I do.
Yeah, we used to play that too. The old football game from 989 Sports.
Wow.
So
Just
yeah,
throwing
yeah.
that out there. That's awesome. That's awesome. Did you play I know like when Resident Evil came out and I put that in, we were playing it for the first time and like those dogs break through the window. I was like, what? Scared the crap out of us,
Oh, of
you
course,
know?
of course. Yeah, that that was freaking yeah, one of the scariest things ever. I think one of the scariest moments ever in my teenage years playing
Hmm.
a video game. Yeah, the dogs jumping through the window. My favorite Resident Evil game though came later with Code Veronica on the
Good game.
Dreamcast.
Yeah, good game.
I really liked Code Veronica a lot, and it's funny. I loved all those Resident Evil games when they played like crap. Because
Yeah.
let's face it, the mechanics were terrible.
Hmm.
The using that old PlayStation pad was so archaic
Yeah.
to move around with. But now they've been remastering them, and they play great. They play phenomenally. They look
Yes.
good. I'm just not into it.
I'm with you.
I'm
Yeah.
just not into it, and I don't know why. I don't know what happened to me in that department, but it's
Well,
like um I want more when it comes to narrative for me
hmm.
in these games these days. Like to really hook me, yes, gameplay is always king, but that narrative has to be there as well.
Right. Right.
So
You need a reason, you know.
yeah, yeah,
It's story and stuff really, can really help a game,
yeah. Oh, most definitely.
So, so I guess from there, I guess you got into I don't want to say we'll jump too fast, but I mean, you got into the more, I guess, the PlayStation 4, the did you play
Yeah.
Xbox then too as well,
Well,
or
okay.
was
So
it more?
before we jump to
Okay, sure.
PlayStation 4,
Yes.
when the Xbox was first launching,
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't played video games in almost a year
Mm.
when that was about to launch. And
Right.
it was because I was going through a deep depression at that time.
Mm.
I was going through something pretty traumatic, and I didn't feel like playing anything, doing anything. So I didn't play video games.
Right.
My kids were still playing video games, and that was cool. And I thought, okay, there's this new Xbox from Microsoft coming out. And I'm like, Microsoft, the PC makers and, the software makers. And I'm thinking to myself, what are they doing? Then I saw a little bit of Halo, and I was like, that looks really interesting. Maybe I'll get it for my kids. I'll
Mhm.
just buy them an Xbox, right? So
Yep.
I bought it, and with every intention of just giving it to my kids and letting them play it. Didn't happen that way. I when I tell you that Halo Combat Evolved got me back into gaming in a serious way, it's no exaggeration. I swore off video games. Like I didn't think I was going to get back into them, but Halo sucked me in.
Yeah.
Not only was it fun and the feeling of these first person mechanics, it felt so great, so different from anything else I've ever played. Even the narrative was good to me. I was like, okay, this is pretty damn cool. Master Chief is a badass. I love this. I feel like a badass. So it really did kind of wake me up out of this depression and help
Good.
me through it.
Awesome.
So the Xbox, that game, and then Morrowind. Elder Scrolls Morrowind. Oh, that game just sucked my soul away for I don't know how long I played that game.
Yeah.
I mean, Bethesda has ever since then. That's why I always like, I'm very high on Bethesda, because Morrowind was my game. That was my jam back in the day. That game was just amazing. So
yeah, all the work, the detail, the things you could do to create, the character create screen, all
never
that.
seen anything like that on a console ever. And I dabbled in PC gaming, but when we talk about PC gaming back then, it was things like Police Quest, Dragon's Quest. It was just like these cheesy games,
Leisure Suit Larry.
Leisure Suit Larry, yes. Just they weren't really fun games. They were just like interactive things. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. It wasn't the same. Console gaming was a lot more appealing to gamers back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely
think Morrowind was the first time I saw a game that kind of used some of that, did what some of the PC games did, and then it seemed like it was just a lot more fun. I don't know. I think that's when it started to expand within the PC realm as well. Like the PC started getting better with games and stuff too. And then at that point, I think you started to see PC pull away, and they started to get better graphics, and then console just couldn't catch up. Every time they would get close, PC would just jump up and, another evolution, gone. And they still do that today.
Yeah. Right. But then the expense, a lot of people, the kind of PC sometimes would keep people, to have the best graphics, to have that high end stuff, you had to spend a lot of money and a year later.
That's why I wasn't really much into it, because you and I, we went through the infancy of the internet. We saw it start. I mean, we had to adapt to that. I mean, at one time I was coding HTML because I was making my own website. That's what we did back then.
Yep. Same here.
Like we used to
radio
code.
Stations too.
And that's what's crazy is like, I forgot how to do all that stuff. But at one time as a teenager and a young adult, I was coding.
Yep.
And so it blows me away when I think about that, and think about growing up during that time, and just see where it's come to today. Now you can just build a website with ease online. They have these sites you go to, and you just kind of plug and play, put different graphics here and there, and boom, you got a website.
That's what I do now. Squarespace for our website. It's
exactly.
It's easier,
Oh, of course. You didn't have to type in all that HTML code.
Yep. Yeah. It was those were some crazy times for sure. So I guess so from there, I guess you got into let's go up a little bit on the newer consoles, I guess. Not necessarily the newest one now, but I mean like the PlayStation 4, the PlayStation 3, those kind of you say you were more PlayStation than Xbox.
I was playing primarily more on PlayStation platform, especially during the PS4 era. Okay. So that generation, a lot of people were. The PlayStation 4, I was playing more on that side. And not only because I love the exclusives there, but also I was playing my multiplats there. I had a lot of friends there, played with them. And then slowly over time, some of those friends just dropped. They stopped playing games, or they just, had different times they can play. So we weren't doing the whole Friday night, let's, get in a party chat on the PlayStation, the PSN, even though it sounded worse than party chat on Xbox. But
true.
But we used to get in, we used to have a great time every Friday night. Those kind of stopped. The Friday night gaming stopped. So kind of fell out of the PlayStation multiplayer aspect gaming. And then I started doing more podcasting and stuff with Xbox guys. And I was thinking, these guys were, asking me to come to party chats on Xbox. And, one thing leads to another. You end up playing more games with these guys because they're, they've got that same time frame that you can play a game. And so that's just how it works out. You end up playing with your friends, wherever your friends are, right?
Exactly.
So somewhere about the last quarter of last generation, I started migrating to Xbox, more to Xbox. Still have that love for Sony exclusives today, but multiplats, especially now when the One X dropped, that's when it really started for me, because the One X
Yeah.
was the best console out, the most powerful, I'll say, and multiplats just were better on that. So that's when I
Yeah.
started migrating over there.
So let's I guess let's kind of because you kind of touched on it. So how did you get into, or I guess what was your first kind of like, what made you? I'm really butchering this question.
Oh no, don't worry
But
about
it's
it.
like I guess I kind of know where I want to go, but I'm not really, because it's kind of a broad question because it's I don't really know. That's why I might want to know about it. Is your I guess your start as an actual
Like
content
content creator.
creator? Yeah. How did that come about? And
Oh, this is kind of interesting.
cool.
Okay, so I've always kind of been interested in doing something online, right?
Hmm.
It started out with MySpace and stuff, and coding my own websites and putting my own music to things, and
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
here's my personality. This is what I can do over here. Come check me out, right? I was
Hmm.
always interested in doing something. I never knew exactly what. So I don't remember the year, but do you remember Periscope? It was a live streaming app that was connected to
Yes.
Twitter for a while.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
before Periscope, the first one that was like that was called Meerkat.
Okay. Okay.
Meerkat was the first live streaming app out there, the very first video live streaming app. So I was like, okay, cool. I could do this with my phone. Let's do this. And I'm like, but what am I going to do? I don't know. Well, I'll get in some people's lives and I'll chat with them in the chat, see how they are, kind of feel them out. And I thought,
Hmm.
okay, I see people just basically talking about their day, kind of vlogging style. And then some people were telling stories about the past and stuff. And I go, well, let me tell some stories about my past. So I went online and I noticed I started to get a little bit of a following. And people were like, oh, we like to listen to you. You're comforting. And I'm like,
Hmm.
what? Okay. That's interesting. Okay, cool. And so I got into that. Then that shut down. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll just try to move to YouTube and do something on YouTube. Well, right before that shut down, I met this lady that was also on Meerkat that had a podcast. And she just did this audio podcast. And it was basically a Tinseltown podcast. It was about Hollywood. She
Hmm.
would interview like authors and small time actors and stuff,
Nice.
and influencers of some type too.
Hmm.
All Southern California based. I'm here in Northern California, but she saw my, Meerkat streams, and she asked me, she goes, you've got a good voice and everything. Do you think you would podcast and be like a co-host for me, or with me? And I was like, really? Oh, okay, I'll try it. So I did that for a while, and it got my feet wet basically into podcasting. And I was like, this is kind of
Hmm.
cool, and then I decided to tell my best friend about podcasting. And I said, hey, dude, we really like mixed martial arts. Let's do a podcast on mixed martial arts. We can talk about, all the fights every weekend and all this stuff. And he was like, cool, let's do it. I mean, this guy had a brain. He remembered every fight. Like 5 years ago, he could tell you who won, what round, all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
It's
That's
like, boom,
awesome.
let's do it. We were about a month into our podcast. It was called MMA Think Tank podcast. You can find some episodes on YouTube. It was a very small channel. Not many people knew about it, but we were mainly all about audio anyway. So we were, on iTunes and stuff. We started to get a following on iTunes. And all of a sudden I got hit up by a manager for a small MMA company. He's like, hey, would you be interested in interviewing my up and coming fighters? I said, hell yeah,
That's
let's do it.
awesome.
So I started doing that. And then I also got into, from there, we started interviewing UFC fighters. I was interviewing people like, you probably heard of him, Sam Alvey, Smiling Sam Alvey. He's one of the
Yeah.
guys we had 3 times on the show. He's a really good friend of the show. Still have his phone number to this day. So
That's cool.
not doing anything with it, but
Right.
just being able to talk to people and these fighters and stuff, it was really fun. It was exciting. We loved the sport, and it was cool until one day my best friend decided he could no longer do the show. It was work conflict and stuff. He couldn't
Right.
do it. So we had to stop the show. I wasn't going to go on without him because
Right.
to me, the brain that he had for this, I could go to him and be like, remember this fight? And boom, he knew it. Like,
Yeah.
it was really nice. So that was over. And then I was like stuck, no more podcasting. And I'm thinking to myself, let me just try this YouTube thing. I get on YouTube and I see people like Solid Rev. One of the first people I would watch in the gaming community. I don't know if you know, familiar with Solid Rev. Solid Rev, you know, he's been around since, man, I want to say at least 2012. I'm not sure, but he's been around YouTube for a while. And he's got quite the following. I used to watch him. I see a bunch of other people, you know, Review Tech doing his thing, Review Tech USA, things like that. And so I started a channel, but I wasn't doing just gaming. I decided, you know what? I'm going to talk about everything, Dave. I'm not just about gaming. I'm about everything. So let me be, you know, a pompous a-hole and call it everything according to me. And I'm going to talk about everything.
Wow.
And I did. I talked everything about, you know, I did social commentary, politics, Dave.
The third rail.
and gaming, a bit of gaming. And
nice.
Boy, when I tell you, if you think the trolling is bad in gaming, talk politics. Talk politics and see what happens. I still have a troll out there till this day that bothers me.
That's hilarious.
From the politics talk. So
wow.
It's not good. So that channel had to go.
Yeah.
It was done. Got rid of it. Trashed a channel after gaining, you know, like, I don't know, 1,000 subs, which doesn't sound very big. But at the time I was like, oh my God, I got 1,000 subs. Like when I hit 100 subs, I was impressed. I was like, oh man, I was so freaking blown away. So then I started another channel, just called it J. Fonzarelli. Did that for a little while. Then I did that, and I met Dealer Gaming through, actually, no, while I was doing that channel, Solid Rev, that guy I was talking about who's on YouTube, he commented on one of my videos, and I was like, whoa, is that really him? So, you know how there's fakes out there. So I checked, and no, it was really him. And I was like, wow, I watch your videos all the time. And I sent him a message, a private message, and I go, dude, thank you for the comment. Like, I didn't know you watched any of my videos. He's all, yeah, I'm subbed to you. And I was blown away. I said, some guy who's a lot bigger than me in the community is actually watching my videos. I couldn't believe it.
That's awesome.
He's all, no, you're pretty good, man. So I was like, oh, okay, thanks. So fast forward a bit. Yeah, fast forward a bit. So I'm on that second channel. I meet this guy all day digital, and we hit it off. We talk. He goes, hey, I think you'd be perfect for a podcast, GRG podcast with K Mega. Don't know if you're familiar with him, but K Mega, shout out to him. He was doing the GRG podcast on Fridays. All Day was on there. He got me on there, and I was guesting. And at the end of the show, K Mega says, hey, can you be here next week? And the week after that, and the week after that. He's all, I'd like you to be a panelist. And I was like, really? I was like, cool, I'm on a podcast again. So I was happy to do that. Then I had conflicts. I couldn't do it anymore. So I wasn't podcasting for a couple of months. And then all of a sudden, All Day tells me, we should start our own podcast. And I go, yeah, we should start our own podcast and do things on our own. But we didn't do anything on that. And then he hits me up and goes, hey, Dealer Gaming has a podcast he's starting. We should join that podcast. I'll get you on it. And I was like, really? I was like, I don't think he likes me very much. Because backstory, when I was on the GRG podcast, Dealer Gaming was a guest one day. And during this guest appearance, I grilled him, tried to anyway.
Right.
I got onto him and I said, Dealer, and I forgot the exact words I said, but I basically I accused him of saying things and doing things that he wasn't doing because he was guilty by association. Right. All his buddies were doing it in the community. So I figured he's doing it too.
Right.
So I kind of did that to him. And he was very gracious. He goes, Fonz, I'll just tell you this. He goes, go to my channel, look at all my videos, then come back and talk to me. And I said, I'm going to do that. So I did, Dave.
Yeah. I
went to his videos. That weekend, I was like, I'm going to get this guy. I know he's doing this. I'm going to get him on something. I couldn't find anything. Not to what I was talking about. So I apologized to him. I said, look, I'm very sorry. I did that. You were guilty by association to me and blah, blah, blah. He goes, that's why, Fonz. He goes, never stick to something, like have a conviction on something. Never, how did he say it? He said, never be absolute on something if you don't know or something. And I was just like, he's got a point. So that was it. That's like the last time we talked. So when All Day told me that, he was starting up this show, I was like, there's no way he's going to let me on this show. He doesn't know me really. So Dealer invites me to a party chat one day, and then All Day is in there, Colt is in there, and Luca is in there. And I'm like, what's up? He's all, I just wanted to talk to you, blah, blah, blah. Would you like to be on my show? And I was just like blown away. I was like, okay, what's it going to be? The Real Deal Xbox podcast. I said, all right, sounds cool, but I'm not an Xbox guy. He's all, I know. That's why I want you on it. He's all, you play Xbox, right? I'm like, yeah. He's all, well, you're an Xbox guy. You play Xbox. And I said, yeah, but I'm not like a fanatic. I'm just, I like all consoles. And he's like, don't worry about it. You play Xbox. That's all that matters. And I said, okay. And it wasn't until years down the line when I asked him one time, I said, why did you ever invite me onto the podcast? And he told me it's because of that interaction we had on K Mega's podcast. He said, it's because you came at me the way you did. And then when you found out you were wrong, you were man enough to come back to me and apologize about it. He said, not many people in the community do things like that. He said, I respect the hell out of that. So he said, that's one of the reasons. And I was like, wow,
that's awesome.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and we've been doing it now for 5 years. RDX has been, doing great for 5 years now.
It's a monster, man.
And it's something that, I'm doing kind of my own thing now, but I will never, and I told Dealer this too, I will never leave RDX as long as I'm podcasting, because I love doing the show with him that much. It's awesome. It's been a wild ride.
Yeah. Well, and to somebody outside looking in, it shows you guys have a true chemistry. I mean, and it's, obviously the other panel members as well too that are on there, but I mean, it's the real in Real Deal. You know what I mean? It's
yeah, we do have a chemistry. And even those nights, like they just happened this past week. I'm sitting there and I'll get called on and I'll be like, yeah. And he's all, why aren't you saying anything? I'm like,
I remember that.
I'm just listening. I'm just listening to you guys talk, because sometimes, Dave, it's funny. I know I'm on the podcast. I know I'm a panelist, but sometimes I kind of fan out on Dealer as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes I sit back and I listen to the things he says and the way he does it. I think he's witty as hell. I think he's fast on that.
Yeah.
He's one of the wittiest guys in this community. And he's got one of the quickest minds, and it blows me away at times. And I'll listen to that and I'll zone out on it sometimes. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm on the podcast. What am I doing?
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a great friend too. We honestly, Dealer, one of my best friends out there in the world. He's so awesome.
I'll have to agree. Again, somebody from the outside looking in, like I said, the chemistry's there. And I mean, you always are going to tease, because that's what friends do. Kind of needle each other about certain things.
You have to.
Yeah, exactly.
Growing up, especially us, and I'm not saying they don't do it today, but in the 80s, man, we gave each other shit all the time. Excuse me, we gave each other crap all the time. It was like a friendly gesture. It was like a term of endearment when you called a friend a certain word or whatever, a bad word. And it was fun times, man. And I feel that way when I'm with those guys and we're talking behind the scenes or we're on party chats. And a lot of times we bring that over to the show too. It's like, we're basically showing you how we talk behind the scenes on a show.
Yeah.
This is like no holds barred,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had kind of touched on it earlier that there was I guess you're back now, but I mean, for about a month and a half, almost 2 months, you kind of stepped away a little bit for the simple fact that you're getting some things figured out, which
like I said, family first, man. I had
Amen.
to figure things out and put them first over any of this stuff. And if I have to quit this for good, I would do it for family.
Oh,
okay?
sure. Yeah,
But
exactly.
I don't ever see it coming to that.
Right.
But I do think if I do ever need to step away, the one thing I have learned after stepping away for almost 2 months this last time
Mm-hmm.
is that I have a lot of great support in this community.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
And it blows me away. The messages have received, people just saying, you know, it doesn't matter if you're gone for, 8 months to a year, I'll be here. It doesn't matter how long it takes. I'm like, wow, it blew me away, Dave.
Yeah.
The fact that, people just staying sub to me and stuff when I'm not producing any content, and I'm going, wow, this is like, that's why I'm so transparent with people. That's why I put myself out there, because I think I owe it to people. And I know I don't owe anything to anybody.
Right.
Because people will tell me that. And I know I don't need to do that. But I feel like I do, because I love the fact that people are that caring for me.
Yes.
So,
yeah. Well, you have a strong appreciation
yeah,
for people that appreciate what you do, and it
sure
shows. And like I said, that time that you were stepped away, I mean, every episode came on, and dealer, is right away letting Fonz take a little bit off. Here's such and such as kind of a guest filler. Fonz will be back, because he'd reassure the audience. Because to be honest, I mean,
yeah.
not that they were bad shows, but I mean, you definitely are a key that really part of the puzzle that really makes it all work.
Because sometimes I feel like I'm not wanted at times, and I know it's not the truth, because moreover, there's more people in that chat that are there for me as well. But there's times where I may say something, and I'm being honest, just stating an opinion that I feel, and it really rubs the chat the wrong way. And I see the hatred and the vitriol come out in some of these people that last week loved me, but this week the pitchforks are out. Fonz said something negative about my Xbox, and I don't like it. And it's like, guys, I don't hate Xbox at all. When I talk negatively on Xbox, it's because I really feel like I want them to do better. And that's just it.
Amen.
I mean, that's the reason why we started Real Deal Xbox Podcast, because we wanted to put the real out there for the Xbox brand, and show people that, not all of us Xbox fans are, going to let everything slide. And because too often we heard a bunch of podcasts in the past, and I wouldn't mention any names or anything, but they would be Xbox focused, and it would always be sunshine and rainbows. Yeah. Always. And it's not always that way in life. and you sometimes you have to be smacked up the head as a fan to understand that, hey, what you're doing, or what Xbox is doing right now is not right, and we need to make sure we voice our opinions so they can right the ship. That's just basically what we're out there saying. And it's just it's been again, it's been fun. But at times, I appreciate you saying that, because at times I do feel like, like I'm the bad one. Like, that's the guy you got to watch out for on the show. He's the one that's going to bring it down right there. He's going to be negative.
No, that'd be Tim Dog. I'm just kidding.
And there is people on the show. Kidding. You'll see people in the chat too. There's one guy specifically, I forgot his name, but he'll always write, Fonz is being kind of positive tonight. And then as soon as I say something negative, he'll go, oh, there it is. He's negative again, and it makes me laugh. He makes me laugh every time, because I know he's just messing around.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, while we're talking about you doing the show, there is one thing that I have to say, I think you're the master of it. And that is the soundboard work that you do. I mean, that was totally missed the whole time you were gone. And I think I even made a comment to you in one of the super chats that said in that it was like, man, we missed that soundboard. Is there any way I could talk you into potting up and maybe
somebody
tease us with some of those?
Well, no, I've got I use Beetlejuice a lot. Okay. I don't know if people are familiar, but Beetlejuice from the Howard Stern show, that guy, honestly, I'd love to sit and have a beer with him.
Yeah.
because I think he's phenomenally, just naturally, just funny, and the guy is just he's hilarious to hear all those crazy stories he comes up with and stuff. So of course, like growing up, I listened to Howard Stern. I listened to a lot of radio greats. You know, it's funny because a lot of people will tell me sometimes, "Oh, you have a radio voice," or blah blah blah. And then I think sometimes, was I influenced at all by some of these radio disc jockeys that I listened to growing up? I don't know, maybe, but
Yeah.
I listen to the radio a lot. I love talk radio. I love music. I love it all. So, but yeah, I use Beetlejuice. I use clips of ourselves on the show, like
Zocker and stuff.
Tim Zocker's a toddler is one that I would play sometimes when he goes off on something. I just wanted to add something to the show that I know that like I've heard on Howard Stern before. Of course, the great Fred Norris playing his clips and stuff. It cracked me up for many years. So maybe I'm too old school for some people with that, because some people don't like the soundboard. I see the comments sometimes saying, "Hey, he should stop doing the soundboard. It's dumb." And then I stop for a while, because it gets to you. Sometimes when you get negative feedback, sometimes it will get to you, and you think, okay, maybe I should stop. So I won't do it during a show. And then I hear people getting mad in the chat. Where's the soundboard, Fonz? Where's the soundboard? So I'm like,
you know what?
Overwhelmingly, more people love the soundboard than not.
I do. I love it. So, I love it, because I don't think you abuse it. It'd be different if it was, constantly the same button over and over.
Right.
Exactly.
But like when like Randall Thor 19, anytime he's mentioned, and
the
you do
man
the man
with the million.
That's so perfect. That's so awesome.
And we both use the Rodecaster Pro 2, so having the sound pads on there is just amazing.
Oh, yes,
it's so fun.
Yeah, and the newest one has the really cool, I guess a voice manipulation that you can do now.
It's really cool. You can just talk to each other like this and have a blast.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. And it's to me it's more I guess weapons in your arsenal. Just things that you can whip out on the fly, and it keeps the show going a lot of times.
It's funny because I get enjoyment. Okay, this is where when I use the soundboard, my goal is to make Dealer laugh. And you listen to the show sometimes, and when he's talking and I hit one of these, and he starts giggling, that makes my night.
Yeah,
that makes my night, because it'll be D-Batch on a long-winded speech about tech. Shout out to D. No hate, all love.
Of course not.
But he'll be talking about something, and maybe, it's not necessarily anything that like the chat really wants to hear too much about, maybe AMD related or whatnot. And he'll go on and on and on and on, and I'll hit and all of a sudden you hear Dealer crack up, and it makes me laugh. It makes me go, yes, my job is done.
Yeah.
Because I know if he's laughing, the audience is laughing.
Amen.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and there's been times when because Dealer doesn't necessarily like to. I mean, he'll talk serious subjects for sure, but he doesn't necessarily like to take things too dark or too heavy. Yeah. And once in a blue moon, something starts going that way, and then depending on the subject, of course, and the topic, and then you will drop one. It's like you have a script almost. It feels like it. It's like because it just sets
basically I took various catchphrases from different people, and I implement them there. And based on what we're talking about, if that catchphrase works, or if something or if like something like this works.
What's happening here?
When there's just total disarray happening, or somebody says something so stupid on the show, and you hear
what's happening here?
It makes people laugh. It just does. And, and that's the way I view it. And when I hear a giggle from one of the panel members, it makes me know, okay, if they're laughing, somebody else is laughing too.
Yeah. Well, it's true. And I, for one, as a loyal fan and listener, I enjoy it, and keep up the good work.
No, I appreciate you, man. Cause I definitely like to hear that, people do enjoy.
Definitely. And it's like I said, it's not it's not for the sake of having it. It's that, you know, when you do it, it's not just
just to push
slamming.
buttons. I'm not
Right.
sitting here just going like this, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not doing all that. It's just, yeah. But like when they're
Sorry,
talking
it
about
was
buying
funny.
Xboxes and everything, and you hear Beat's voice going,
I'll take an Xbox.
it's funny. It's, I'll take an Xbox. It's like, what?
You're
Like
killing
it's
me.
just, it's,
Awesome.
I don't know. It, you know, maybe it's just two old guys here laughing about something
may
stupid,
be.
but it's funny to us. That's all that matters.
Exactly. And it's it is good. It's usually they're I mean,
And
when I
it's
say
positive.
usually-
It's nothing negative. Like
right. There's never
Yeah.
slanderous or anything like that.
when
so-
I'm using Marlin Gaming's, it's a rap. It's all in fun. It's nothing
Yeah.
to be, you know, rude about.
It's a
Yeah.
wrap.
It's just funny. I close the show out with that every time. And
Yeah.
of course, I open the show with Phil all the time.
yes.
And of course,
This is about delivering great exclusive games for you that ship on platforms where Game Pass exists.
and dealer expects that now. And
Yeah.
in the last show, I didn't hit it because I had just got the Rodecaster Pro 2. I
Mhm.
just started putting stuff in it. Not all that stuff was in there yet.
Right.
And that was the reason why I couldn't hit it. But he was waiting for it. He's all, that's your cue. We're
Yeah.
live. Hello. And,
I remember.
and
I
then
was
somebody,
watching,
I think it was D-Batch. D-Batch said, I guess no Phil tonight.
Yeah. But and then when Phil's does that little speech, he has that little chuckle.
Yeah. And dealer loves that chuckle.
Yeah.
He's like, man, that little laugh gets me every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that, man. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I
yeah. No,
appreciate you
thanks for
doing that.
asking about it because it is a point of contention sometimes. It seems like some people love it and there's a few out there that hate it. And
Well.
but overwhelmingly, like I said, more people love it than hate it, so it stays.
Well, if and for the fact that you don't overly use it or you know, or it's not a crutch,
Yeah.
then
yeah.
then to me it's like, dude, you got to keep doing that because at this point,
Because it's out of the blue at times. Like you'll be listening to somebody and they're talking about something and being really serious, and then you hear
Mhm.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's funny. You're like,
Yes.
what? Why is Beetlejuice there? What's he saying? Okay, you know, it's just
Yeah.
funny.
it is. It's great fun, man, and
Yeah.
and I love it. So
And of course, I got to play this one for you.
Exclusive.
I was gonna ask you about that one too.
Everybody likes that one.
Oh, that was yeah, and especially when he starts when dealer or somebody is mentioning the the exclusive, and then you
All the
drop that in on
exclusives.
top of it.
Exclusive. Yeah,
Yeah, that's awesome.
it works.
Sorry, excuse me, a little bit of
no
supper
problem.
coming back there. I tried to mute it, but it didn't work good there. I was hit the wrong button.
Damn Roadcaster.
I know, gosh,
Operator error.
that's what it was. Like, Dave, you ain't all there. So I guess
Come
This is
on,
about
Dave.
delivering
Come on. Sorry, I hit the wrong button. Dang it.
That's okay. That's okay.
I was going to do this.
Come on, Dave.
yeah.
Sound like the chipmunks.
Oh, I didn't turn it off.
It's so funny. It's so funny. I love it, dude.
man.
And what was it? Let's see. I'll
And that's
something
when people
better.
laugh too sometimes. When I'm going to hit a certain button and I hit the wrong one, people
Yeah.
laugh and they're like, why did he just play Man with a Million?
yeah.
Why did he just do that? And you see him laugh
So
in the chat.
and I don't do this very often at all because like I don't actually, to be honest with you, I don't think Boom likes it on his show. But there's once or twice, it's depending on who's like if Everborn's on and he's a big Sega guy, you know,
Mhm.
and he'll start going on a Sega rant and you'll throw that kind
Yeah,
of thing
yeah,
into
that's
him,
awesome. Yeah,
just
Sega. Yeah.
just because that somebody out there is be like, okay,
You got to get the other one though. The one that's also Sega.
I do have that one.
Yeah. Boom. Love that.
So, yeah.
Those bring back so many memories.
Don't they? Yeah. Yeah. I tell you, and I'm just totally nostalgic here. And I don't know if you'll even remember this or not, but the NES, when it came out, when the video game, and you can find it on YouTube if no one's ever seen this before, but the TV commercial for the Legend of Zelda was so bizarre because it showed very like maybe 2 or 3 seconds of actual like gameplay.
Are you talking about where it looked like it showed like gameplay on a projected wall or something just for a split second, and then it had like a guy
With the fuzzy hair and just running around going,
Yes.
Zelda, Zelda.
Yes,
Yes.
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 I do remember. I do remember.
Oh my God,
I
that
have a
commercial
weird
was
memory
so
like that.
weird.
I have a weird memory like that because I can remember when I think of old 80s songs and stuff,
Yeah,
I remember the videos from MTV.
same.
Because I play them out in my head when I listen to the song.
Yeah, there's
It's
times when
such a
if I
weird
buy a
thing.
song off
But-
iTunes, I'll buy if there's a music version of it, I'll
Yeah.
buy that just so I can watch it again. So yeah,
It's crazy. It's the things that you retain. It's just weird. And,
It is.
It's like,
It
I
is.
can't remember what my wife told me to do yesterday, but I can remember, ZZ Top's, she's got legs video.
Amen.
And I'm like, what's going on?
Well, you're a man, Fonz. That's why.
Yeah. Well, I can remember even Jesse's Girl by Rick Springfield. I can remember that video, and I wasn't a big fan of it. So,
Dude, I'll have to admit,
it was just played
I've
all
seen
the
him-
time on MTV. And
I've seen him
as
in
kids,
concert.
oh, really?
Yes.
Here we go.
Did
Did you also watch him on General Hospital?
Oh, I mean, not intentionally.
Oh, see.
But
no,
Battlestar Galactica. What are you talking about?
oh, yeah, that too. Yeah, but I watched MTV. My brothers, I had older brothers growing up, so that was
Mhm.
on 24/7.
Yeah.
Videos. And back then, that's all they played, which MTV, I miss that MTV.
That was the biggest mistake they ever made, was to quit playing.
Yeah.
Focus on videos. Yeah, I agree with you 1,000%. That in fact, there is a channel called MTV3, which they made, which plays all those retro
funny.
shows. But it's real hard to get. Not a lot of cable companies. It's way down the food chain as far as like,
Oh, and
if you can get it or not.
I've been a cord cutter now for like the last
Same.
18 years.
Oh,
I haven't
not
had
that long,
cable.
but yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I haven't had cable in like 18 years. I one day I decided, you know what? I'm paying $200 and something for well, it was satellite at the time. And I was
Yeah.
like, I'm not doing this anymore. This is stupid. What am I doing? Like, I don't need this stuff. And I cut it. I was renting videos and stuff, and Netflix had come out as well. And I was just like, I've got Netflix. I don't need this stuff. So,
Yep. I'm sounds like we're old souls there, buddy.
oh yeah. And, I mean, cable's trash anyway. There's nothing but commercials and stuff on it. It's trash.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Well, let's get from RDX, which is fantastic show, and I'm
Thank
so
you,
glad
man.
that you're back.
Love doing it.
But you, I guess you either got the itch or the to come up with your own shows, which is the Games Talk Live.
Games Talk Live.
So how did that come about? And how many episodes have you done of that now?
I know it's roughly 50 shows
That's
total,
good.
maybe
Yeah.
something like that. 40, high 40s at least.
Right.
Basically, I started over a year ago. I decided I started like I think 2 weeks before Colt started XNC. Me and Colt around the same time we were thinking about doing our own thing. He of course was thinking about doing his own thing and leaving RDX because I don't, for whatever reason, I think he said that it was hard to do the show Tuesday and you don't have a show Monday, then go Tuesday. He's got a family as well, so it's totally understandable. For me, if I had done that too, that would have been tough also doing it Monday night and Tuesday night. But I was thinking about doing my own thing for a long time. Because back when I was doing RDX at some point, I told you All Day wanted to do a podcast with me. We did one. Me, All Day Digital, Basement Radio Arcade Podcast, and Saltiest Gaming, of all people. We decided we were going to do a gaming podcast, incorporate everything, including Nintendo. All right. And Nintendo is not something that I personally play really, but I wanted to talk about everything. So we did one. We called it Loot Chest Radio for a while. And it was a pre-recorded podcast, and we would upload it to iTunes and stuff. And we also had a YouTube channel. You can still find some of those episodes there.
Nice.
It had a little following, not much, but it was fun. It was fun to do. But as you may not know, but when you're on a panel with other people, sometimes it's not always easy to get together every week, the same time, and some people would be missing sometimes and whatnot.
Mhm.
And it just didn't feel like it was cohesive enough to keep going, where we couldn't all, be together. And then we had one leave the show, and it was like, okay, well, this ain't working out. We just stopped it. I just stopped the show.
Right.
But I've always wanted to do my own thing. So I thought, okay, this time I'm not going to have a panel. This time I'm just going to host the show, which is one, scary as hell.
Yeah.
As you know, being a host of your own show.
Exactly.
And two, I have to rely on me. Like I can't bounce off of somebody. And if I have a guest, the chances of bouncing off of them, if I don't know them, are slim. I don't know how well we're going to work if I'm just meeting them for the first time.
Mhm.
But I thought, that's what I want to do. I want to do a one-on-one show, because you don't see many of those in the community. It's always, 3 to 20 people on a panel. Now, I'm just being exaggerating there, but
Mhm.
there's a lot of podcasts out there with a lot of panel.
Yep.
And I said, I want to do a one-on-one, and I want to talk to some industry guests, community members and industry guests, and content creators, things like that.
Mhm.
And so that was my mindset. I started Games Talk Live, said I'm going to do it on a Sunday, because most people are, I was looking at all the time slots when people are doing all their shows, and being considerate as well. Like, I don't want to do a show the same time Boom's doing a show. I don't want
Right.
to do the show same time Colt is going to do his, because for one, I'm going to get crushed by those guys. They're awesome.
Yeah, well.
But two, I'm just not that type of guy.
Right.
So I looked at Sunday, and I go, nobody's really doing a show the time frame I'm doing it. 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's when I'm going to do it.
Mhm.
Actually, I started out at 1, but what ended up happening, thank you, ILP, the Iron Lords podcast,
Mhm.
huge podcast out there. They've gotten huge,
Yes.
but huge also in terms of length. That podcast would run like 4.5. So it was eating up my
Yeah.
show, like half of my show, when I had it at 1 p.m. So I was like, I got to move it back. And I had no hard feelings to them at all. It was just
Right.
one of those things that was funny, because they'd be like, you could possibly start at noon and we might be done then. And I was like, no, I'm going to start at 1, because I'll give you an hour buffer. That wasn't working out, because they were going right into my show at 1 o'clock too. So I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, let me push it back another hour. And sometimes they even go into 2 o'clock. And I'm like, wow, this show is long, but
Yeah.
that's all good. Those guys are like family to me.
Right.
Shout out to all those guys, Attic Sov, King David, and Lord Cognito.
Yeah.
Just amazing, amazing guys. I love those guys. They are the ones that got me to get on camera. Cognito,
Nice.
he told me, he said, Fonz, you need to get on camera. You need to do your thing on camera so people can, get another piece of you and see your mannerisms, the things you're doing on screen. And trust me, people will appreciate it. Do it. And this all came from King David, by the way. So Cognito's telling me, but this is the stuff that King David told Cognito to get him to start doing camera too for their shows.
Mm-hmm.
So Cognito, King David through Cognito kind of just transferred this onto me, imprinted this onto me. And I thought, okay, I'll give it a go. So my show is going to be on camera. I told Colt, I'm going to go on camera and stuff. And he's like, that's what I want to do too, go on camera. So I decided to go on camera. And I was scared. The very first episode, I was nervous as hell. I still get nervous every episode. It's nerve-wracking to me because I know people are watching, and I'm the guy who's hosting the show. I'm the one asking the questions. And if I can't bounce well off the guest and it's not going well, I've got to make it go well.
Right.
And I don't know, what am I going to do? I tend to, overthink sometimes. I'm like, am I going to freeze up here? Sometimes I think that when I'm talking to a guest, I'm like, oh no, they're not responding the way I thought they would. They're not talking enough. They're not saying enough on this answer. What's going to happen next? Am I going to freeze up here?
Mhm.
And I don't. But internally, I am frozen. I'm like, oh my gosh. And,
Yeah.
it's scary. It's scary. I don't know
It
how
is.
my guest is going to react. And, again, not saying any names because I loved all my guests. My guests have all been great. But there have been a couple of guests where I would get some yes or no answers. And I want them to, expand on it, and they don't.
Right.
And it's like, oh, no. It's
Right.
going to be one of those shows because, when you ask a question,
Mm-hmm.
if I was here and you asked me, so, you got into the PlayStation eventually, and if I just sat there and go, yeah, and stopped, you'd be like, oh no. But it's going to be that kind of show where I got to pry stuff out of them.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough.
Yep. It is.
And then you
very
get guests
tough.
like me who's very long-winded right there, and I
Well,
apologize for that.
No, not are you kidding me? This is the whole point of the show is to talk and it's a conversational podcast because I
Yeah.
want people to to feel comfortable and to talk about things that they want to talk about and they're passionate
Yeah.
about.
But Games
And,
Talk Live is that's the reason why I started it. I wanted to talk to community members, industry guests, so
You've had
just
some pretty big guests on there
anybody.
too.
Yeah, I have. Well, I've had a lot of big content creators,
Mhm.
as you know, from the community. I've also had some actors on there. My good friend, Ramon Terrell, he's not a well-known actor, but he's been in a lot of TV shows and movies and stuff.
Mhm.
He's doing his thing. He's also an author. Great guy. He's been on the show. He introduced me to his good friend, Patrick Gallagher, who's a big actor and, has done things, played Coach and Khan in the Ghost of Tsushima.
Wow.
He's, played Genghis Khan in The Night at the Museum. And, he's
Very
been
cool.
in big movies and,
Mhm.
and he's in the Big Sky TV show, big character in that. And meeting him, it blew me away, kind of network there from Ramon to his friend Patrick. And, after the show, we sat there and talked for another hour with the guy. And I was just
Yeah.
blown away how down to earth this guy was, it was awesome. But yeah, I've had him on the show. I've had David Jaffe, the creator of God of War.
Yeah.
An amazing guy. That was a fun show. He's very outspoken, says a lot of crazy stuff, but
Yep.
damn it, that's why I like him.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because even though I try to make my show more on the PG side, it's different from RDX where we
Right.
just let loose.
Yep.
I let loose on my show, but I try to keep like curse words and stuff out of it because, I know that kids do watch and
Right.
I just prefer not to really just let loose with the curse words and stuff.
Yeah.
But with David Jaffe, I knew he's just going to go all out and say what he wants to say and everything. And it's like, okay, this is going to be one of those shows, and it's going to be very few shows like that, but I don't mind if it happens, especially coming from a guest. Like, I'm not going to tell them, don't curse, don't do this,
Right.
don't do that.
Right. You
There,
want to
feel free to talk how you want to talk,
Yeah.
but this is how I deal with my show personally. You can do what
Yeah.
you want.
Yeah.
You know?
And to be honest with you, it's kind of the same way I do mine. It's like occasionally I may throw something a little salty in, not usually too vicious,
Yeah.
but I mean, I put every one of my episodes up as always marked as explicit, just in case I do slip up or say something, and then like,
Yeah.
I
It's rare.
had Dealer on, and of course, Dealer. It was
Yeah.
like, everything was great. The whole interview is fantastic. One of my best because, like you said, he's a force,
Yeah.
and
One of the best hosts in the game.
amen. I definitely agree with that. And and we were just talking, and then it wasn't like serious, but we were talking about his his education, some of schooling, and then he just kind of flipped and said, but then I say this, and then it was
Yeah.
like, and the rest of the show was,
Mhm.
which was great, and it was still funny. But I'm over here
and,
dying, while he's
and
just
I'm
letting
sure
it
I
loose.
know what he said. I
Yeah.
say F. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? That's Dealer. And
Yeah.
I love him for that. He's funny as hell. Again, that wittiness about him. And, when you guys were talking, because I heard that interview and he's talking about his schooling and stuff.
Mhm.
Dealer is very smart.
Oh man,
Dealer is a very bright person. That's why it's funny to me when I see people try to catch him in something in the gotcha moment or put him in a corner. He'll find his way out, no matter what, because he is a smart man. I appreciate Dealer a lot.
Yeah.
He's been there for me through a lot of trying times too. The guy's a great guy, man.
I'll have to agree with that. I reached out to him and then he was just, hey, let's do this thing. And I was like, oh, cool. I mean,
He's awesome.
I was flipping out once he said he would get rid of the show. So, it's and it's like you, man. It's I know you're humble. Let's just say that right up front, but you do a great job. And I'm proud that you're in the community and the things that you do, because like I said, you make this entertaining, interesting, especially like when the COVID stuff was like looking for people to listen to and stuff. You're one of the people that I gravitated to, and then on RDX and you started your own show, it was like, oh, I gotta listen to that too. So you have a fan base that appreciates you, and
that's always so weird. That's so weird to hear, fan base. Oh, you don't understand. Like, people will hit me up in a message, like a private message, and say, hey, I'm one of your biggest fans. And I'm like, no, you're not. And they're like, yeah. And I said, no, you're not. And I always tell them this.
Yeah.
You're a listener. And you know what? You may like what I do and stuff, and I appreciate you, and you seem like a good guy. I'll look at their profile, and I'll give them a follow back. And they're like, thank you for following me back. And they're like, trying to be like, I say trying to be, but maybe they feel like they're starstruck or something, but that's the feeling I get, that they're, the way they're talking to me and stuff. And I'm like, dude, I'm just a regular dude on a mic. I'm no different than you. I just may have a podcast or be on a bigger podcast, but you are just the same as me. We're just gamers. We can be friends. There's, and then they're blown away by that. Oh, you're so nice. I'm like, no, you're nice. This is why I'm nice to you. You're nice.
Exactly. Well, you're not being a dick or trolling me, so that's why I'm talking to you.
Yeah, let's be friends,
Yeah. I get you. And but like you're not.
And I gotta expand on that a bit. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Because there's people out there. This is where I might turn into a bit of a dick, Fonz. Sorry for the language, but there are bigger content creators and stuff on there that I have even reached out to that won't give you the time of day. And I think that is so bad. I don't think that's cool at all. Maybe they have too much of a following. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they can't keep up. But at the same time, if you send something to somebody several times and you're nice about it, and you're cool about it, and you don't even send them anything back, it's kind of rude to me. Especially when you're in the community and I see you speaking with people that I know personally, and like, you don't even respond. It's kind of a weird thing. Like, dude, if you treat me like that, I can only imagine somebody who's like a big fan of yours or something trying to reach out to you. It's weird.
Right. Yeah, no, I definitely.
And I can't be that way.
No.
And I try to keep up. Like, even if I have a video that I make, I know I haven't made a regular video in such a long time, and I want to. They take forever to make, because I like to edit a lot. And editing is, it's a time sink, Dave.
You'll get there.
The editing takes so much. And when I do, I'll put sometimes, 10 hours into a video. And if it takes off and I get a lot of comments, I mean, hundreds and hundreds of comments, and I'm sitting there, I read each one and try to respond to each one. And
nice.
People will tell me that's too much. You can't do that. I'm like, but I feel bad. Like, these people are leaving a comment. Like, they're taking their time to do it. I want to take time. And I know if I was ever on the level of, say, a Dealer Gaming or a Colt Eastwood, where they would have thousands of comments, that would be kind of impossible.
Right.
But I know myself, I would still try to read each one, because I feel terrible. You took time to write a comment to me, and that is appreciated by me. I appreciate that from anybody, even the negative ones. At times I'll say, you know what? He's being kind of an a-hole to me, but he watched my video. Yeah. He actually put some time in to watch the video. And sometimes I'll be nice to them and tell them, well, I'm sorry you didn't like this. Take care. Sometimes, Dave, it's turned them around.
Yeah.
Sometimes they go, you know what? You're not so bad. I thought you were going to come back at me in a way, and they become a listener or watcher. And I'm just like, wow. So I do try that approach at first with some of these guys. With some of them, you can't do anything. If they're just blasting curse
Right.
words at you and racist things or whatever, those people I won't tolerate. But the ones that are just negative, I try to be nice to them. And sometimes it turns them around.
Well,
Sometimes it does.
like I said, I think you're a good guy, and I
I know,
appreciate you and your time.
Appreciate you.
Wow, dude, thank you. The one little thing I was gonna say was that to me it doesn't matter. You list to some people that I've interviewed and people that I'm gonna continue to interview. You don't have to
Yeah.
have people. I've had a couple that like 100 followers or less,
Yeah.
but I think they're interesting and they're fascinating. And if me interviewing them and getting their story and stuff out there gets somebody else they may find them here to get them to their channel to watch what else they have to do.
Mhm.
To me, that's a win-win. That's
Yeah.
that's one of the whole reasons I do this, because there is a lot of different content out there, a lot of different people
Oh, yeah.
out there that do
There's
this. And so,
there's smaller content creators that come to me and say, hey, Fonz, I just started a channel. Would you please check it out? And then they're blown away when I subscribe.
yeah,
Oh, I didn't expect you. Dude, let me share it out. I help people out like that all the time. To me, it doesn't matter. If you make good content and you've got 5 subscribers, I'll subscribe and help you out and even share your video. I don't mind doing that. There's people in this community that I help out all the time because I truly like what they do. People like Boba Fett Gaming,
Oh, yeah.
Ash Tree Gaming, Xbox Obi. I think they're great content creators. I want them to make more. So, I'll share their videos because I appreciate those guys, and they don't have a big following, but they should have a bigger following. So,
right. That's awesome. Well, Fonz, man, thank you so much for being here today.
oh, thank you, man.
I guess we can kind of wrap things up a little bit. I don't. I mean, literally, we could probably talk another hour or so.
Oh,
And
I know. We could.
because I mean, like
We
I said, I
talked
think
like
you're
half
such a
an hour before we started.
We did.
Yeah.
So you're a fascinating guy, and again, I really appreciate you being here today, and I hope everybody subscribes to your channel. And not only that, but go to Fonz, and the link will be down below. But go on there and not only subscribe, but there's a little bell icon. Click on that, because when he does put out his videos, you'll want to watch them. He did one last week with the Ash and Luca, who I had on here, and that rapport you guys had back and forth. The interview was fantastic. It was great.
Appreciate you.
So I'm glad you're back. So
And I'm glad you're doing this, Dave. I truly think you need a lot more subs here, because I think what you're doing here is pretty darn cool. Because again, I've watched several episodes now that you've done, and all of them have been fascinating. Like I really love to listen and hear about different content creators, their backgrounds and stuff like that. That's interesting to me.
yeah, me too. That's why I started it. Thank you, sir.
yeah.
I appreciate that. Well, dude, tell everybody how they can where they can reach
Yeah,
you.
they can find me on Twitter at Fonz Gaming, just FONZ Gaming, and also on YouTube at Fonz Gaming. So check me out. And every Sunday, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 5 p.m. Eastern, you can check out the Games Talk Live podcast live, where I'll go one-on-one with a guest, as I talked about here. And sometimes I'll do a one-on-two. That's very rare, but sometimes I will do that. Depending on topics or whatnot, or if I want to get a third guy in there or gal, it doesn't matter to me. There's lots of great content creators, male or female, in this community that are awesome. I've had some on the show: Delilah HD, Eric Cuts for the Win, and of course the Ash and Luca, all awesome gamers, just amazing people. But yeah, you can catch me there every Sunday, like I said. And and when I do make a video, if you hit that bell, you'll see those videos pop up as well. But yeah, find me there, Fonz Gaming.
Thank you, Fonz. I really
Thank you.
appreciate you being on today, man.
Nah,
And
thank
thanks,
you, man.
thanks everybody for watching us today. You can find more videos at outbreakpodcast.com. It's our actual website, or on this channel here. And we're also available on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Trying to make it easier for everybody to listen however you want to listen and consume We appreciate everybody that listens to us. And thanks for being here at Outbreak Gamers.